Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramnaya. Good afternoon and welcome back. I consider it an honor and privilege to introduce the speaker for this afternoon, Shri Kumar Saran. Kumar is a physician entrepreneur based out of Houston, Texas. With the able support of his wife Shanti, Kumar has been serving Bhagawan devotees in the greater Houston area. Renting a space exclusively to conduct satsang, they've had a good number of devotees coming in person, participating in the satsang, which is also well attended via Zoom. There is a heavy focus on sadhana all through the satsang. It was during the COVID-19 pandemic that I got introduced to their satsang via Zoom. Collaborating with Michael James, Robert Butler, and Johnny, Kumar and Shanti have very detailed and illuminating satsang, which is richly interspersed with deep meditative sessions, all between discussions. In addition to these weekly sessions, they have daily satsangs in which they discuss in depth works ranging from Yoga Vasishta, Bhagavad Gita, and of course, Bhagavan's collected works. He maintains a website which is rich with information on Bhagavan's work and is a particularly special treasure trove of Sri Sadhu Om's works and commentaries. He uses the Vimeo platform, which is a paid platform that is not supported by ads. And so, the audios and videos have no annoying interruptions. Now, he has been dedicating a significant amount of his time and resources to preserve and propagate the legacy of Sri Sadhu Om. He is very closely associated with Sri Sadhu Om Ashram in Thiruvannamalai. Recently, he was involved in the publication of Sri Sadhu Om's book, The Path of Sri Ramana. The book is available on Amazon, and as a side note, I want to bring this to everybody's attention. The rented space, the subscription, and the upkeep of the Vimeo platform has been borne by him all along. And I also have another interesting thing that I noted. So recently, there is a Bhagawan documentary that's come out. I think 3 episodes have come out, and it's supported by the SRMH. And in the second episode, there was a mention about a lady who was born and raised in India, relocated to United States, and got reintroduced to Bhagavan through the Houston Satsang group. I bet you didn't know about that. So, let's all give him a warm welcome, Kumar Saran, and his topic is, of course, Sri Sadhu Om and his contributions to the Bhagavan devotees. Thank you.
So I'm going to talk about Swami Sadhu and his contributions to all of us. What has he done? How has he contributed to us? So what we will do is basically I split the agenda into 4 parts. First we'll look at his early life, and then his contributions, what he's done for us. And then we'll look at his final days, very emotional tribute to Michael. And then SRCH stands for Sri Ramana Center of Houston. What we are doing to get this message out. Both Swami Sadhu Om's as well as Murunar's writings and works, what we are doing to help that get out to the wider audience, to people around the world. So that's the 4 parts that we'll be going through today. Early years. He was born in 1922 in a small town called Punainallur near Tanjore. The parents named him Natarajan. And however, I'll be using the term Sadhu because that's what we are all familiar with. Even before he became Sadhu, I'll be using the term Sadhu because so that way we are sort of consistency in name. And since he was a boy, It's not the grace of the Supreme. There's always this inner calling. Okay. So before he came to, let's see how he came to know about Bhagavan. At the age of 24, he came across a magazine, a small book actually called Ramana Vijayam. It's a bit biographical, and he immediately wanted to see Bhagavan. Okay. And this is what, 1946. 2 years before, in 1944, another key event happened. And I thought I'll just get Michael to describe that event and how that led to this. So,
1946, Sadhu first came to know about Bhagavan. He read Bhagavan's biography in Tamil called Ramana Vijayam. When he read that, I'll tell you a little back history. 2 years earlier, he had gone to Chennai, to Madras as it was known in those days, to join the Mylapore Ramakrishna mission. In those days he knew nothing about Bhagavan, but he knew about Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. He wanted to become a sadhu there. So he went there, and when he went there, he took a one-way ticket, and before entering the mat, he gave away all his money. He entered the mat, and he said he had come to join the mat as a sadhu. Then one of the senior swamis there took him aside and talked to him. And he saw that he was a very sincere, coming very sincerely, but he told him, no, we have certain procedures here. You can't just come and join like this. You have to be in correspondence with us for at least 2 years. And after 2 years, we may invite you to come and join as a brahmachari. So for the time being, you have to go back. To your place, and you can remain in correspondence with us. While he was talking to Sadhu, he said, now it is the time for my puja meditation. So I'll just go to my meditation room, wait here. He went to his little meditation room, and after some 10-15 minutes of his puja meditation, he came out and said, Bhagavan will call you after 2 I've got a message for you, but Bhagavan will call you after 2 years. What that Swami meant by Bhagavan, and what Sadhu understood he meant, was Bhagavan meant Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. So that Swami took this, that he had got some intuition that Swami would be called there after 2 years. And Swami also took that. He took this, they're going to call him after 2 years, but Bhagavan, taking that to mean Ramakrishna, is going to call him after 2 years. That Swami didn't mention anything about Bhagavan. Sadhu didn't know anything about Bhagavan in those days. When Sadhu was about to leave, one of the other Swamis called him aside and gave him some money. Sadhu said, no, I don't want to take money. I came here to not for money. And that Sadhu said, I saw before you entered, you gave away all your money outside. So do you have any money now? Sadhu said, no, he admitted, I gave it away. And he said, you take this money to buy your ticket back home. Afterwards, you can return the money to us. So Sadhu bought a ticket back, and he returned to Tanjore, and he later sent that money, as suggested by that Swami. And he was in correspondence with them for 2 years. In the meanwhile, after about 2 years, he happened to come across this book, Ramana Vijayam. So when he read Ramana Vijayam, and he read to the end, he thought, oh, this Ramana Maharshi seems to be still alive. He was very excited to know that, so he wanted to travel to Tiruvannamalai. But he wasn't sure whether in Ramanashram they had formalities like in the Ramakrishna Math. So he asked some friends of his, does anyone know about Ramanashram, how you can go there? Someone told him, there's a lady called Janaki Mata who lives nearby. She's a great devotee of Ramana Maharshi. If you go to her, she'll be able to answer all your questions. So Sadhu went to her one evening, went to her house, and when he came there, he explained why he had come, and he was taken to meet her, and she welcomed him, and he told that he had come because he had read Ramana Vijayam, he wanted to see Bhagavan, he didn't know what the formalities in Ramanashram were. And she said to him, we're going to Ramanashram next weekend, so you can accompany us. And then she asked him, do you know Aksharamlai? He said, no, what is Aksharamlai? And she said, this is the song composed by Bhagawan. And so she said, we're going to recite that now, you can join. So she gave him a book, and when he heard Aksharamlai, his heart melted, because he was able to, he could see the wonderful depth of meaning and bhava and everything in that. So that multiplied his devotion to Bhagavan. So the next weekend, he traveled with Janaki Mata to Bhagavan.
So then Janaki Mata basically said, that same weekend, she was going to Tirunelveli, right? Come and join us. So Swami said, okay, I'll join you. And so they both went together to the ashram. So, Barbara.
On entering the hall, Bhagawan's sacred form was not visible to Sadhu. He could only see the sofa. Thinking that Sri Bhagawan had gone out, and that when he is not present in the hall, it is the ashram practice to prostrate in front of his seat, Swami too prostrated, just like others before him.
When he got up, there appeared on the sofa, which is empty before, a column of light, which gradually took the sacred form of Bhagavan. Sadhu, whose heart has been intensely longing for Bhagavan's darshan, now rejoiced, beholding the murti of Irukkum Vannam, which is a quote from Devaram, which means its resplendent beauty as it truly is. Thus, in the very first darshan, Bhagavan makes Swami realize his true essence, the impersonal, attributeless Absolute. So it's very sort of chilling account, very first darshan. Another key event happened on that same day. So Swami gave Bhagavan a poem that he had composed. Under the title Kuyil Vidu Thudu, sending a message of love through the cuckoo bird, expressing his divine love towards Bhagavan in the ecstatic mood of a wife heroine towards a master, and started singing it in Bhagavan's divine presence. Couldn't do it. But emotionally charged, the tears started gushing forth from his eyes, his voice faltering, he trembled and couldn't complete the singing. So, Bhagavan says, okay, I will read it. So he himself read the rest of the verses, corrected the title as Kuilodu Kural, which means proclaim with the cuckoo, and gave it back to Sadhu. And to take it to Sri Muruganar, was living in Palakkad. Michael told me, he said, immediately Sadhu's question was, where is Palakkad? And Bhagavan apparently told him, oh, Angarik, over there, you go there. That's Muruganar, go give it to him and show him. That started the deep and intimate relationship between these two great poet saints. So what happens next? The day before, a very interesting event happened. So this is 6th July, when he first met Bhagavan, right? Now let's see what happened the day before. It's also very interesting. Go ahead, Barbara, please.
The day before Sadhu first came to Bhagavan, devotees in his presence were discussing the current state of Tamil education. And someone remarked that the standard of Tamil education had fallen so low that one could not expect to see any poets of the caliber of Bhagawan or Muruganar among the young generation. Hearing this, Bhagawan responded, even now there will be young poets who are divinely inspired, no matter what their level of education may be. What education did poets such as Jnanasambandar and Arunagiriyar have? It is only by divine grace that they became such great poets.
Exactly. Go ahead.
The next day, after Sadhu had offered his newly composed songs to Bhagawan and shown them to Muruganar, when Muruganar next entered the hall, Bhagawan said to him, just yesterday we were talking about young poets inspired by divine grace. See the example of this, referring to Sadhu, who has come today.
So Bhagavan had predicted the day before who's going to come and what is going to be. And isn't that interesting that that even that happened in the Ramakrishna month? Bhagavan is going to call you in 2 years. both the current, that monk and the future monk were both thinking it's referring to Ramakrishna. They didn't know that the Bhagavan that they were was actually referring to is actually Bhagavan himself. So let's continue to see what happened that same month in July 1946. Go ahead, Bob.
The very same day, Swami composed other songs titled Kachi, Apha Ventam, Amayapa, and sang them in the sacred presence of Bhagawan. These became further confirmation of Bhagawan's declaration. From some of the verses of those songs, it is clear that Swami from that day itself considered only Bhagawan as his sole guru, favorite deity, mother and father. From that day onwards, Swami visited Bhagawan frequently, either alone or with Janaki Mata.
So, and then I'm going to narrate a beautiful event, and most of you might have heard this, but I got a lot more details while I was already preparing for this on this one. Vandavelepa. So, a couple of weeks after having the first darshan of Bhagawan, Swami came to Tiruvannamalai. One morning I was climbing up the mountain, a little on the rear side of the ashram. And he was sitting on a rock. And he started to write verses on Bhagawan under the title Vedke, sort of longing, yearning, Vedke. After finishing the 7th verse, he's like, okay, it's time, breakfast time, so he's just rushing down. By the time he got there, they were almost wrapping it up. So after finishing the 7th verse, it was time for the breakfast. He went hurriedly to the ashram dining room. And as that breakfast time was almost over, Swami hesitated to go inside and stood outside the dining hall, just waiting there. Can I go in? No, he was just hesitating. So at that time, some devotees came up. He said, hey, why are you standing here? Bhagavan was inquiring about you just a while ago. He's eating now, please go inside. So Swami went inside, sat down opposite Bhagavan. So Bhagavan is sitting a little bit far from him. And then he starting to eat. But then Bhagavan actually is wrapping up his meal. So he stood up. You know, it's our habit when elders stand up, so we are, Swami also stood up. So he didn't know. Bhagavan just looked at him. And the description is so beautiful. He said with a divine gaze, he looked at him. And then he said, Vandavelepa. Okay? So the Vandavelepa is a Tamil idiom, which is, it's difficult to translate exactly. But what it really means is attend to that for which you have come. The Vela doesn't really just mean work. It's more than that. It's attend to that for which you have come. Okay, so the guy is just standing out. He's interrupting his meal. So that he's thinking, okay, he wants me to finish his breakfast, right? So Swami sat down, but having got up once, he hesitated to continue eating. Okay, Bhagavan's routine was to go through the southern door. That day, as though he wanted to go to another door, western door, he came close to Swami, Sadhu, and he said again the same thing. Attend to that for which you come. And that's when it really stuck him. Okay? This is a very important event, so we'll just look at it. What does that really mean? These are not ordinarily spoken words. Bhagavan is instructing me through this great gem of words to attend to the purpose for which I came to this world.
Oh Bhagawan, at this young age, this boy wants to leave his job. Bhagawan asks Sadhu, is this all necessary?
That's what he said.
So Swami went back, but at a time when the Supreme Reality itself had manifested in a sacred form on this earth, instead of living near that presence and achieving the purpose of life, Swami's heart did not agree to waste his life on job and family. So after about a year, during the time when Swami came to Bhagawan and was staying in the ashram, writing a letter of resignation from there itself, Swami offered it to Bhagawan before posting it. Bhagawan read it and returned it to Swami. Swami, taking the cue from Bhagawan's gesture as his consent, sent his resignation letter by post.
And that's it. So total surrender to Bhagawan. So he's going to take care from that point on. Right? So after some time in 1940, Bhagawan attains Mahanirvana. So let us see what happens after that. Go ahead, please.
After Bhagawan attained Mahanirvana in April 1950, though Swami wished to stay permanently in Tiruvannamalai, within a few months, due to some circumstances beyond his control, had to move out of Tiruvannamalai and return to Tanjore. During this time, Janaki Mata desired that Swami should stay in Janaki Nayalam itself and become the editor of the Tamil monthly magazine about Bhagawan called Arur, that she was soon to launch. Swami consented, and though he stayed mostly in Janaki Nilayam, in between for 1 or 2 months, he would live like a wandering mendicant, going from place to place, begging alms for food. During that period, whenever Swami got a chance, he made a practice to visit Tiruvannamalai. Though the longing to stay in Tiruvannamalai increased more and more in Swami, some hurdle or other prevented him from staying for long in Tiruvannamalai. Still, not telling anyone about the hindrances he faced, without resisting Bhagawan's will, he prayed and sought Bhagawan's grace alone.
So the call to be only with Bhagavan is growing more and more in him. So finally he decided to, because he wanted to focus, as you know more and more about Sadhu, he has an enormous degree of focus. He wanted to really focus at that point. So he pleaded with Janaki Mata to just let him go, just wanted to be by himself at this point. And after some initial reluctance, Janaki Mata agreed. As soon as he moved on to live by himself in Tanjore, many heart melodic songs, I'm sure most of you might have heard this, it's very powerful songs. Like Unake Namaskaram, Irevane Kandira Ninal, Sri Ramana Ore, etc., bubbled up within his heart. I think this is a time to really listen to just one song, one sample, how he brings the pathos, the devotion out. Also, he packs a lot of philosophy in his things, very subtly he packs it. So let's listen to Irevane Kandira. I'm sure because most of you have listened to Unake Namaskaram, I thought we'll just look at this song, Irevane Kandira Ninal. His own voice. continuing to grow. He still wants to see Bhagavan. So let's see what happens.
He was by himself in Tanjore. Swami's heart longed for Ramana's advent. There arose a state that his life would not last unless he could get the divine vision of Bhagavan. He longed and longed, cried, worshipped, throbbed for darshan of Bhagavan. The state of Swami's mind, intensely suffering to see the divine sacred form of his benevolent father, resembled that of Sri Ramakrishna's daring attempt to cut his throat with a sword in the agony of not getting the vision of Mother Kali.
Some of you might have heard that story, right? But Ramakrishna actually, he wanted to cut his throat because he wanted to see Mother Kali.
So he started composing verses pleading for a vision of Bhagavan, entitled the collection Sri Ramana Varuhai. As soon as Swami finished at the 172nd verse, he had the vision of the sacred form of Bhagavan.
So some of Sadhu's key devotees, they always remember this number 172. Why 172nd verses? Because that marks the time when Bhagavan showed his form to him. So now let's see what happens. Go ahead.
From his childhood, Swami had the divine visions of gods and goddesses like Parvati, Subramania, Ganesh, etc. Likewise, in later years, after coming to Bhagavan, several times he had seen the lustrous form of Bhagavan, so having divine visions was something habitual for him and not a new experience. So now, though Bhagavan came in front of Swami, the teachings of Bhagavan in the 20th verse of Uladunarpadu came to his memory immediately. In this verse, Bhagavan says that oneself seeing God is seeing a mental vision. Only one who sees oneself, the origin of oneself, is one who has seen God.
Sometimes we see visions of God and we feel kind of proud about it. But that also has a limitation. And that's what this verse points out. I mean, it's good. But that also has limitations, and that's what is, Bhagavan clarifies, explains further in verse 20 of Uladunarpadu. Oneself seeing God is seeing a mental vision. So if you see a vision of Lord Subramania or Bhagavan himself, it's still a mental vision. You need to go past that. Only one who sees oneself, the origin of oneself, the first oneself. So when that's Michael's translation. When Michael translates it, he does it exactly the way it is in Tamil. You see, in Tamil, Bhagavan doesn't differentiate Tan as self and Tan as ego. He just says Tan. You've got to figure it out. Because there is no two Tans, right? So there's no two selves. So, and really it's easy to figure it out. So if you see the first, only one who sees oneself, seeing the Atman, the origin of oneself, the ego, is one who sees God. Right? So that verse came to his mind, and he said, "Okay, I need to ignore this. I shouldn't get too high, hyper proud about this. I just need to ignore it." That's what his first thinking was. So then what happened?
Sadhu Om thought that just as the various forms that he had seen before, Bhagavan's form that he's seeing now is also just his mental imagination, and closed his eyes. When he opened his eyes, he found that Bhagavan's form had disappeared, so he continued composing other verses. However, after some time, Bhagavan's form reappeared for the second time and then disappeared. When the 361st verse was composed, Bhagavan's sacred form appeared before Swami for the third time. As per the convention that whatever is seen or heard 3 times is a fact for certain, Swami felt that this is not a mere projection of his mind, but it was Bhagavan himself who had appeared before him in his manifested form.
So he thought, okay, there's something more than a projection, something I need to take it seriously. So he's now focusing a bit more. But see, look at it, he's getting a little greedy here. So, but to confirm, go ahead.
But to conform, he felt Bhagavan should speak or say something. Immediately, Bhagavan looked at him with his divine gaze and asked, Why are you calling me to you? Why don't you come to me?
You sitting in Tanjore, why are you calling me? So, go ahead.
Swami felt Bhagawan's words, why don't you come to me, as Bhagawan asking him, why don't you come to Tiruvannamalai? Swami was well aware of the challenges of a monk's life. He asked Bhagawan, if I come there, what shall I do for food? Immediately that divine vision disappeared. Another one appeared in which he was seated before Bhagawan in the ashram dining hall, and many dining leaves were placed in multiple rows, but no one else was present there, and none came to serve food. As none came to serve food, Swami gazed at Bhagawan with a puzzling look. Bhagawan, pointing to the food containers there, asked Swami, why don't you serve the food yourself?
Yeah.
Then that divine vision too disappeared.
So what does that mean? Go ahead.
Realizing the words of Bhagawan, why don't you serve the food yourself, as an assurance that his bodily needs would be taken care of its own accord, at that very instant Swami decided to leave for Tiruvannamalai. Swami took the hanks of yarn that he had spun using the hand spinning wheel and left Tanjore on his sacred journey.
Yeah. So that was news to me also. I mean, I didn't know that he was doing some yarn spinning on the side, trying to maintain himself.
After selling all the hanks, Swami went to the railway station and bought a ticket. With that ticket, he could travel only up to a place called Aduturai, in between Kambakonam and Mayavaram. After some more ordeals, he ended up in Tiruvannamalai. Thereafter, for about 30 years, staying permanently in Tiruvannamalai, leading an austere life, Swami gave himself in complete surrender to Bhagawan.
Yeah. Looking at this, one point really caught my attention. He bought a ticket and he could travel only up to a place called Aduturai. I was thinking of Bhagawan too, remember? Bhagawan also couldn't really come all the way to Tiruvannamalai. So I don't know what's up with these great ones, they always seem to be short, a little bit short of the eventual destination, right? So, anyway, so that concludes our first part. Now let's go to the second part, which is Sadhu's contribution. So what did he do this point, now that he's in Tiruvannamalai? Slowly settling in and he's composing a lot of these songs and poems and commentaries and so forth. So we'll look at this in a bit detail here. Go ahead, Barbara, please.
Those devotees who have had the good fortune of associating closely with Maruganar and Sadhuam, or who have carefully gone through their writings, will have been left in no doubt that they are both instruments specially chosen by Bhagawan for revealing, expounding, and exemplifying his teachings for the benefit of the world.
Yes.
Because both Maruganar and Sadhuam had surrendered themselves completely to Bhagawan, thereby merging themselves in him, they truly retained no individuality of their own, and thus they are not other than Bhagawan himself. Hence, it is indeed Bhagawan himself who acts through them, eliciting, recording, and expounding his own teachings.
So that statement is from Michael. It's Bhagawan himself who acts through them, eliciting, recording, and expounding his own teachings. Now, I want to, the most important contribution of Sadhu that is known to the Western world is what? Bhagavan Ramana. Right? I would say Western world because local folks, it's different. They are all more attracted to his songs and so forth. So let's just start with the Bhagavan Ramana first. No other book, Ramana-related book, I could say this confidently, explains the technique of Atma Vichara as clearly as this book. You agree with that, Harry? We were talking about it, about this. No other book. I mean, it's beautiful. It logically goes step by step by step and takes you there. it should be, please pardon me if I'm a little bit forceful, please forgive me, but it should be a mandatory reading for any serious devotee of Bhagawan. You got to read that. Only then all your doubts will just go away. Till then, you'll always be, I'm missing something here, something there. I once told Michael, Michael, I don't know, most of you may be familiar, some may not be. Michael is a British gentleman who left everything and he came to Sadhu and spent the final 4 years of Sadhu's life with him. Completely just lived there. And even after Sadhu passed away, he stayed in Tiruvannamalai for another 16 years, total of almost 20 years. 20 years he just stayed there, dedicating his life, learning classical Tamil, and he explains Bhagawan's teachings in pristine purity. So, Michael also told me that even better than him, Swami explains the technique of self-investigation. No one can come close. So that piece is very, very important. So just a few words about Bhagawan Ramana. So he first starts with the goal of life in chapter 1, right? And then he asks first he defines the goal of life, which is what? Happiness, right? So happiness, nobody would argue with it. If you've got nothing to do with Bhagawan, you go ask anybody in the street, after some thinking, they're scratching their head, they'll say a lot of other things, but really closely watch it. They're all really meaning happiness. They'll use different words. They'll say, I want to be peaceful, I want this and that. One time one guy said, I want to go around the world, that is my aim in life. Why do you want to go around the world? Because the thought that he wants to see XYZ places subsides and then he's going to feel happy. So ultimately what he's also seeking is happiness. So everyone will say it differently, but if you probe, ask question, more and more they will end up with that answer, happiness. So that is the Parama Purushartha. That is the ultimate goal of all living beings. Not just human beings, all living beings. So that he starts like that. And then in the next 4 chapters he just sort of explains and concludes, makes a logical conclusion that self-investigation is the only way to attain that permanent happiness. And then from 5 on, the magic starts. In chapter 5, he says why he compares, he lists all the 4 yogas, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, Jnana Yoga, lists all the 4 yogas and explains how this stands apart. At the same time, how self-investigation, Atma Vichara, is the very foundation of all these 4 yogas. He beautifully lays out in chapter 5. And then in chapter 6, who am I is not Soham Bhavana. Here Swami explains the difference between this practice of investigating who am I, meaning Atma Vichara, and Soham Bhavana. What is Soham Bhavana? It is a practice of meditating I am He. Aham Brahmasmi, just keeping on repeating that, which is an incorrect practice of Jnana Yoga, but which has traditionally been mistaken to be the correct practice. So he lays the foundation. This is a beautiful logical analysis, very scientifically he argues, and he says why that is not Atma Vichara. And then, what does he talk about in the 7th chapter? A lot of times I talk to folks from other spiritual groups and all. There was actually one person who goes to a Punjab-related spiritual group. And so I asked him, okay, what are the different stages? He says something similar to our 4 yogas. And then I said, Gyan. He says, okay, basically he's referring to the Jnana Yoga. So, okay, tell me how you practice Gyan. And we really watched them closely. What they're all referring to is the Shakshi Bhava, being a witness. And that's not it. And that is what he's arguing in 7th chapter. Why it's not Sakshi Bhava. Another traditionally mistaken practice of Jnana Yoga, and goes on to explain in great detail the correct meaning of the term Atma Vichara. So that is chapter 7. And then finally, the main part of the book has only 8 chapters. In the 8th chapter, he discusses the practice of Atma Vichara in greater depth and detail, disclosing many subtle clues. A lot of clues are there. To help guide and encourage us in practice. That's a separate topic in itself. One of these future sessions we can look at that in detail, exactly how Swami lays out the technique of self-investigation. Very methodically we can analyze that. So this chapter is a crown jewel of the entire book. So what happened is there used to be, there's a bit of history here. You might have seen some free PDFs floating around on the internet, right? And there's a part 1 and part 2. But Swami, before he left his body, he said, I want this both parts merged. And he gave exact guidance how to do it. And then they're all over the place on the appendices between these two parts. And he exactly wanted just 9 appendices. He gave all those instructions to the senior devotees and to Michael. And so they finally put it together according to exactly his guidelines in a single volume book in 2012 called Ramana Vadi. So the 2012 edition is the most authentic Tamil edition. Even the later one in 2016 happens to have some mistakes. So the 2012 edition is the best. If any of you know Tamil, please, if you want to read it in Tamil, it's always got that special flavor. No misinterpretations, nothing. So if you can read the Tamil book, please read the 2012 book. We got it free on our website, on Michael's website, sriramanatteachings.org, it's there. So when I looked at it, and I was surprised. Comparing the existing translation, I found like 50 to 60 pages were missing. Then I asked Michael, what is going on here? This doesn't even look like a paragraph by paragraph translation. Then he said, well, Swami kept updating it, but nobody kept pace on the English side. Then I asked him, did you do the translation? No. There was a French lady, I think it was a French lady, but who it is? It was someone whose mother tongue was not English. So a European lady, she did that, and that's why. And after that, nobody really addressed it. And I was always busy learning. At that time, when I came to Swami first, I was just learning. So he never had time to tackle Padashramana. It always was in his goal. But the problem with Michael is it's extremely slow. It's very slow. He'll talk fast. Like you will think he's a fast guy when you listen to his speeches. But when it really works, he's very slow. He can do only one verse for a whole day. He can spend a whole day, he will just do only one verse. And one day he told me, Kumar, you sent me an email for clarification, my whole day is gone. That's all he said. He said, my whole day is gone. He sent me one email, my whole day is gone. So, anyway, so we decided to do a fresh translation of the book. And that's what we released last year. The book, a copy, Barbara bought one. It's there. So it's when I was translating again, Michael said, I asked Michael, why don't you translate this book? And he said, if you want me to translate, you're never going to get this book done. Because I'm going to get stuck. He's such a purist, he's just going to get stuck. He will never progress. That's why he never really attended to it. So you go ahead. I trust you. You go ahead. And if you want to seek one or two people's help, you can just find with me. And so again, I was very picky. So I called Robert Butler, whose translations I really like also. And Butler said, I know, Kumar, I'm really tired. I can do only one chapter for you. I said, let it be chapter 8. If you're going to do only one chapter for me, just do chapter 8. Please do an authentic translation of chapter 8 the way Swami Sadhu wrote it. And so that's the story behind the 8th chapter. And then throughout we updated all, and all the appendices also we laid it out according to the way Swami wanted. So everybody thinks a supplement, they think it's just something compact. Okay, yeah, the main book is 145 pages, the supplement is also 150 pages. It's equally long. And it has just 3 chapters. The first chapter deals with world, soul, and God. And then the second chapter, Bhakti, it's really long, 70 pages. And sometimes people can get frustrated, but please don't. So when I was working on the translation, I was going to like the 30th or 40th page, somewhere in that range. Something dawned on me that Swami is not really trying to give you anything theoretical. He's trying to make a change in you. What is that teaching? Bhakti, right? But it's something you want to make a change. It's a change management is what he's doing there. Completely fundamentally doing something to us. It's trying to change, make that change in us. And then immediately I took the email and I sent my email to Michael and said, Michael, this chapter has a different tone to it. It seems as though Swami is trying to make a change in us. Not just, much more than just giving a theoretical or philosophical knowledge. And then Michael responded back, you are absolutely right, Kumar. That's what he's trying to do. That's his aim in that chapter, to make that change. So, if you patiently read to Bhakti, at the end of that chapter, you will feel it. You will feel the Bhakti, the devotion that really he's talking about. And he also uses 5 standards. So in India, we call it grade here. In India, we call it standard. You all remember from those of us from India, first standard, second, and so forth. So he classifies the progression of Bhakti into 5 standards. Standard 1, Standard 2, Standard 3, 4, and 5.
3B.
And then he walks us through. Yes, Barbara.
You forgot 3B.
3B, yeah. So 3 divides into 2, 3A and 3B. And then he explains that in great detail. I'm around, so if anybody wants to know what those 5 standards are, we can look at that in detail later. And then the final chapter, karma, everybody gets confused, right? I mean, on karma. No one has a clear idea. Really, why this book says that book says that. Only Sadhu clearly lays out exactly how karma works. I mean, and then he goes on to explain in great detail the entire web of karma that we have owned for ourselves. Because we actually are what? The Brahman itself. Or we have owned this karma for ourselves. So in that, he explains that in great detail. I'm not going to go into the details of that. That's again another topic in itself. But I'm going to just show you, this is the scheme that he's working off. Okay, this is the scheme. So this is exactly from the Tamil book. He translated it in English. And then he puts a scheme, and then he explains it step by step, very methodically. And it's really a joy. I mean, after that, you'll never have any doubts or questions on karma. Please trust me. So that is a beautiful chapter. Now, this was, again, as I said earlier, Michael didn't want to translate, right? But then I begged Michael to translate at least the foreword for us. The foreword was actually written by Swami Nadanananda. Am I pronouncing it correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So, go ahead, Hari. Please read the Tamil verse.
சீர் ரமண மெய்வழி நூல் செப்பும் பரஞான பேருரை கொள்ளும் செவிகள் பின்னர் வேறு ஆறும் உரையும் கொள்ளுமோ கோவாக்கின் கூடார்ந்த சாரமெல்லாம் வில்லலால் இந்நூல் விரித்து.
I'm going to cry now. Will years that have accepted the exposition of supreme knowledge, expounded the true path of Ramana, afterwards be willing to accept the exposition of others also? What a beautiful photo. That's exactly, I'm telling Barbara, I'm suffering from. Okay, I got a problem, and that's the problem. It's a good problem. Because once you listen and really get it, it is so, when I read that, I said, really I was able to connect with it. Really, I can't now listen to anything else. Because it was so clear. With years that I accepted the exposition of the supreme knowledge as expounded in the true path of Sri Ramana, afterwards be willing to accept the exposition of others also. This treatise unfolds by opening out, revealing and expanding all the sorrow. Sorrow is such a profound Tamil word. It could mean core, essence, juice, and sweetness of the hidden meaning of the words of the Lord, Bhagawan Ramana. So it just beautifully brings out the whole thing. That is coming from a great disciple of Bhagawan. Everyone has a great respect for Swami Nadananda. So what are his other contributions? While it was a part of Muruganar, without Muruganar, there is no Upadesa Undiya, right? You all know that. He's the one who made Bhagawan write it. And he's the one who made Bhagawan write Kuladanath. Okay? While it was a part of Murunar to elicit from Bhagawan such words as Anu Vidyai, Upadesa Undiyar, and Ulladhanarpadu, and to record his oral teachings in a pure and undiluted form in the word Guru Ashar Koi, the magnum opus, 1,280 something verses, right? That was Murunar's role, but it was a part of Sadhu to expound and make clear the true import of these words in simple, clear, and lucid Tamil commentaries and paraphrases. It's beautiful. What else? While it was a part of Murunar to reveal the word in works such as Sri Ramana Bodham, the nature of the supreme experience which had attained through the grace of Bhagawan, it was on the part of Sadhu to show the world in works such as Sri Ramana Sahasram, Sri Ramana Guru Varulandadi, and Sri Ramana Vargai, how to pray for such grace. One person describes grace, and the other one says how to pray for grace. So I sometimes joke to Michael, I need to pray. So I need to pray for that grace. So see, each are very complementary. The role is very complementary. You need both. You need both. Thus it can be seen that the roles of Murunar and Sadhu Om were complementary, and that between them they have given to the world a vast and invaluable treasure of works that cover the whole range of true spirituality and that will answer all the needs of spiritual aspirants come after them. Pretty much the whole package is they're given to us. It's so much that Michael told me one time it's going to take a few generations to really translate the whole thing. And I was so pleased to hear from Hari that he's got interest in Sri Ramana Bodham. It's a real large, many volumes. How many volumes is that? 9? 9 volumes. 9-volume book. And that, hopefully somewhere down the road, someone deciphers it and translates it, and it will be of benefit for all of us. What else did Swami do? And then, so he has given us these practical tools, right? We need songs to connect with the God, with the Guru. So he composed a few hundred songs, not just one or two, a few hundred songs, both devotional and philosophical. Most of these are collected in Sri Ramana Gita. The book is freely available in the Ramanashram website, by the way. So if you could go to Ramanashram's website, among the downloads, this book is freely available. Songs are rich in both philosophy as well as in devotion. Another unique work of Sadhu Om is his collection of 1,000 prayers titled Sri Ramana Sahasram. This book, we still don't have a good authentic translation. There are some attempts out there. I would say still appreciate those attempts. They're decent attempts. But now the beauty of this is, Michael told me one time, Kumar, he has packaged the whole of Bhagavan's teachings in the form of prayer. So I asked Robert Butler, hey, Robert, can you at least translate first 365 verses for me at least? So I was nibbling my way in. So he said, okay, I'll do it. I think he did up to like 200 or so verses by the time stroke hit him. Some of you might know he had a stroke. So anyway, we will work on it, continue to work on it. But the way he did it is a poetic translation. He's trying to capture in a poetic way. So all of us can get that feeling. So if you read one verse every day, by the time you do the 1,000 verses, you got the whole teachings of Bhagavan also, but now in the form of a prayer. You're praying, you're pleading for His grace, at the same time you're learning something, and that in turn leads to practice. Shravana, Manana, Nididashana. It's a great aid. Go ahead, Barbara, please.
Because of his tireless and willing labor, his thorough knowledge of Muruganar's style and subject, his own literary skill and profound practical understanding of Bhagawan's teachings, Sadhu Om alone could render real assistance to Muruganar in all his literary work. Knowing this, Muruganar once said during his last days, if Sadhu Om is not entrusted with full responsibility for preserving and editing all my unpublished verses, then it will be better to bundle all of them together and offer them into the Deepam on top of Arunachala, or immerse them in the Bay of Bengal.
What he's declaring is like only Swami Sadhu clearly understands the way I understand. That's what Muruna is declaring here. Right? So only he can process this. I mean, he can edit it, process it. He can do anything. You want to touch it, only he can do it. So that's why he enters, before he died, he gave everything that he wrote to Sadhu to organize it and so forth. And if not Sadhu, it's better to bundle it and throw it in the Bay of Bengal or put in the Deepam fire. That's a very, very strong statement. So perhaps the greatest fruit of the deep friendship and close literary association between these two great poet saints is the massive work we just talked about, Sri Ramanayana Bodham, consisting of about 17,000 verses composed by Murunar during the last 20 years of his bodily lifetime. 17,000 verses. Over the many years of the close association, Sadhu dedicated himself wholeheartedly to the task of fact copying, cataloging, classifying and editing these verses. The result of this effort, of his efforts, is that now the volumes of Ramanayana Bodham has been published by Delhi Ramana Kendra. Actually, they got the Government of India support. I don't know how they pulled that thing.
Professor
Professor
Swaminathan.
Swaminathan did that, right. He got a Government of India support for this, which means it's in public domain. Anytime government gets involved, it's in public domain, which is great. It's excellent. And then again, all 9 volumes are available in our ashram, Ramana Ashram's website for free download. Anyone can download those 9 volumes. If it were not for the dedicated efforts made by Sadhu, it is doubtful how much, if any at all, of this precious collection of Murunar's poetic poems would have survived to be enjoyed by future generations of Bhagawan's devotees. So what a great service and contribution. Okay. So then I asked Michael, what else did he do to us? What else did he contribute to us? He said, Kumar, above all else, the way they live, that is a contribution. You got to study the way they live, meaning Murunar and Sadhu. Moreover, to the humble and self-effacing way of life lived by Murunar and Sadhu, Bhagawan has exemplified how a true devotee should live in his life in this world. Unattached to the world, unknown to the world, and uncaring for the appreciation and praise of the world. In the world, but not of the world. Thus, it is not only through the return works, but also through the exemplary way of living that Murunar and Sadhu have taught us, less mature devotees, how to follow the path of Sri Ramana. Beautiful. So now we know what all he contributed to us. Right? Now let's look at his final days. It never thought to me that I should ask him this, but fortunately for me, one of the devotees, asked Michael during one of his sessions. He just tell us about his final days. And so I was able to get that. Suddenly it came to my mind. And I think I did share it with you, right, Nimi, one time? Yeah.
He did have some health issues, but he actually was in relatively good health. Apart from, he had blood pressure. In India, generally they refer to blood pressure as BP. And he used to jokingly say, BP is very good, because BP means Bhagavan's protection. And as a result of this BP, we'll be here one day, and next day we'll be gone. We'll be no trouble for ourselves and no trouble for others. And that's actually what happened in his case. We all went for Giri Pradakshina one evening, and when we returned, after eating our evening meal, we all went to bed, and the next morning we found him, he had a stroke. We took him to Jitma Hospital in Pondicherry. That day, that night he was in Jitma Hospital. The doctors did tests and things, and by the next day the doctors came and told us that that he'd had a stroke, and so the brain was flooded with blood, and they said it's just a matter of time. So they said, it's up to you. If you want to keep him here, we'll take care of him. But we knew that he wouldn't have wanted to be anywhere but in Tiruvannamalai. And there was also another doctor there who wasn't working in the hospital, but he was had been I think the district medical officer or something, and he was a devotee of Bhagawan, and he knew Sadhu. So he came and he told us this is what the doctor had said. So we asked for his opinion whether he thought anything could be done. He said no. So we decided to take him back to Tiruvannamalai. So I think it was on the 14th that we did the giving protection. But that night he had the stroke. So the night of the 15th he was in Chitma Hospital. 16th we brought him back to Tiruvannamalai, and then he lived upstairs in another house, but we decided to put him on a bed in my house, because my house, it was a very small house, it had the door looked directly out at the hill. So we placed him on a bed inside the main room of my house, facing towards the hill. And I remember myself and another friend, we went to the local, Dr. Saran, who was the local doctor, and we asked his advice about drip and everything. He said, he looked at the medical report, he said, if you give the drip, you may extend his life for a few more days or even a few more weeks. But you're only extending the suffering. There's no point in continuing, was his advice. So we came back and we removed the drip and everything. And it was very clear from all the signs that the life was slowly ebbing from his body. So the whole of that night of the 16th, we sat up with him and we were all singing Aksharam Lai and everything. And one of the times while we were singing Aksharam Lai, his breathing pattern changed, and very slowly, the breathing became slower and slower. And the final, generally, the last breath will be a breath out. But it is said that in the case of jnanis, the prana merges back into the heart, so the final breath will not be a breath out, and that's what we could observe in his case. But he just took one breath in, and that was it. And that was while we were singing Aksharam. So actually, because he was virtually in a coma. I mean, I think he was. When the doctors looked at him in Pondicherry, they said he won't be aware of anything. But we could see by signs that he was aware. For example, when we started singing Aksharam Lai, we could see from the expression on his face that he was very happy that we were singing. And so it all happened within 3 days. It was very unexpected because he was relatively young. He was just 63 years old. It was a great shock to all of us who were close to him, because we never expected that. Even though he had been saying, as I say, he was often saying about BP. It's Bhagavan's protection, and one day we'll be here, next day we'll be gone. It won't be a trouble to us or to anyone else. That's actually what happened. It was he left in a way without troubling anyone. And some 2 years before, one day when some friends were talking, they were talking about the sons of one of them, and they said he's in +2. That is, in India, after finishing the school, then you have +1, +2, and then you go to university. So +2 means it's the second year of pre-university. So when they said, when one of them said about one of the sons of one, he's in +2, Sadhu said, and I'm in -2. At that time, none of us really thought much about it. We thought he's just joking. But true enough, 2 years later, he left the body. Well, for us it was unexpected. It was only in retrospect we thought, oh, he had warned us earlier by saying, I'm in -2.
So that ends the physical life of Sadhu. It's physical because he's merged with Bhagawan. When I was watching the video, there was one thing that really caught my attention. We all know how the Zoom recordings work. Zoom always focuses on the person who's talking, right? Where, let's say if I'm having a Zoom conversation with Sridhar, I'm recording and Sridhar is talking, and Zoom automatically focuses on Sridhar. Occasionally, it'll focus on the other side. Occasionally. Did you all notice it?
Yes.
In this video, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Nobody did anything. Automatically, right when he was discussing the final, when he took the breath off, when Michael was saying it, suddenly the video was switching to the other end, where there was the picture of
Bhagawan.
Oh, I thought you did that.
No, I didn't do it. Nobody did anything.
Wow.
Suddenly the video automatically, but Zoom has done that before. But for it to do, what are the chances of that, for that to happen at that moment? You know, just... So now let's look at, come to the last part of our discussion today, which is what we are doing to bring Sadhu's contributions to the world. Our humble attempt, you know. Of course, it needs a lot more people, a lot more resources, but what we're doing to at least get things started. First, before I get there, we started doing our satsangs back in 2010, and it sort of slowly evolved over the next 3 or 4 years to the current format. There are 2 key statements which form the backbone of Ramana Center of Houston satsangs. Two statements, and I wanted to bring that up here. So when I was looking at one of the Guru Ashoka books, I saw this. So Bhagawan, when going through, I saw this information, when he was going through the proof copy of Guru Ashoka, he made significant changes to verse number 7, the prefatory verse number 7, which was written by an anonymous, that one verse was written by an anonymous admirer of Murunar. Because everything else, Murunar wrote it, what Bhagawan said. That's Guru Ashoka. Not really Murunar's work. He wrote what Bhagawan said. Except for that verse, it is written by an anonymous admirer of Murunar who praises the author. He said, hey, I want to write a prefatory verse, and he wrote it. Okay? And if you see, Bhagawan was doing the proofreading. Again, this is the only recorded word which Bhagawan got to completely proofread, thoroughly correct everything. And you see, that is Bhagawan's handwriting, is where he's striking out. He strikes every line, almost in every line he's made changes. Okay? So after those changes, this is what it reads. He who recorded and strung into a garland a few of the Guru's instruction and announced this preeminent scripture to the world is Kanna Murugan, meaning Murunar. Next comes the important part. Who sees through his eye of grace that the essence of all things is only the far-reaching feet of his Lord. It's a declaration by Bhagawan. Who sees through his eye of grace that the essence of all things is only the far-reaching feet of the Lord. Basically, Bhagawan is declaring the state of Muruna, that he is establishing jnana, in Atma jnana. This is one, and of course there are a lot of other pointers, a lot of statements, but this is the one that caught my eye. I'm sure some of you may give me other statements and proofs. And then we saw this earlier, Murunar's statement in his final days. So when Bhagawan attests to Murunar, now let's see what Murunar attests for Sadhu. If Sadhu is not interested in full responsibility for preserving and editing all my unpublished verses, then it will be better to bundle all of them together and offer them into the Deepa on top of Arunachalam, or immerse them in the Bay of Bengal. If you really want to understand Bhagawan's words, I need to look at it through the prism of Murunar and Sadhu. I need to see how they understood it, how they interpreted it. So that became guiding principle for myself and also for our satsangs. And a couple more supporting statements from Sri Nadanandanar. So he was one of the foremost disciples of Bhagawan. In one of his prefatory verses to Guru Vasha Kove, and this is the verse that we saw together, both of us saw together earlier. So wise people who see the wondrous beauty, both of these verses recording Lord Ramana's sayings, and this prose rendering of them, he's referring to the Guru Vasha Kove Murai, which Sadhu wrote. Murunar wrote in verse form, and Sadhu wrote the same thing in a prose form. So he's referring to that. Will surely declare that it is the Lord Himself, meaning Bhagawan Himself, who was the renunciant and skillful Murunar, has composed these verses, and who, as Sadhu, has now rendered them into prose. It's a beautiful declaration. Thus, because of their egolessness, the complete loss of individuality, Murunar and Sadhu both became pure channels through which Sadguru's grace flows. And, this one. This is in one of the prefatory verses to Patha Sri Ramana by Nadanandanar. Approving and embracing the truth called Guru Vasha Kove, in view of the act of exposition which forms the Patha Sri Ramana, the preeminence that the sage, meaning Bhagawan, gave then to the author of the former treatise, Muruganar, the author of the later treatise, Sadhu, has also achieved now. It's a one single sentence, so we wanted to keep it syntactically the same. What he's trying to say is, first, Bhagawan, because he wrote Guru Vasha Kove, he kept Murunar in a very lofty status. He awarded him that preeminence. And now, because Sadhu wrote Patha Sri Ramana, he also is entitled to that same preeminence. And that declaration is coming from Sri Nadanandanar. So, the point I'm trying to make is this has been our guiding principle in our organizing our satsangs. We are always looking at the commentaries of Murunar and Sadhu. So we meet every week on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. It's entirely based on the 13 words and works of Bhagawan and Guru Vasha Kove. Okay. The Patha Sri Ramana, we don't do it on the Saturday satsangs. I encourage people to read on their own. So they really, so it's supported by the commentaries of Sri Muruganar and Sri Sadhu, and we also support it with some translated works of Bhagawan Ramana. Bhagawan wrote some translations of Bhagavad Gita, Atma Sakshatkar Praharanam, Devi Galotram, and so forth. So those also are good supporting tools for us. But the main thing is the 13 words and works of Bhagawan and Guru Vasha Kove with the commentaries of Muruganar and Sadhu. Books. Of course, I already mentioned quite a bit about the Path of Sri Ramana book. We are now working on Guru Vasha Kove. As I mentioned earlier, the best paraphrase is actually by Sadhu. Only he knows. We saw the declaration by Murunar himself. Only Sadhu understands what I would write. So what Sadhu did is he wrote a paraphrase. Unfortunately, nobody translated it into English. So then I again approached Butler. So the reason I keep going to Butler is because Michael is so busy. He says he has no time. So I went to Butler and asked him, can you please translate this? So Butler agreed. So it's a complex work. So I asked Butler to faithfully translate. Don't look at anything else. Just faithfully please translate the paraphrases exactly how Sadhu wrote it. And he did that for us. And now I'm trying to merge that with the commentary, that Sadhu also wrote a commentary, meaning expanded explanations of each. So we're going to merge that. Right now I'm at the 700 words or something, so we've got like 5 more verses to go. Hopefully by early next year we get that book published. Then we are put together a Spanish team, a devotee from Spain, one from Venezuela, one from Houston, and one from Wisconsin. Four-member team to work on a Spanish translation of Patha Sri Ramana is working on it. We are getting there too, so maybe hopefully in a couple of months we should be done. And our goal is to actually collect all these commentaries of Sadhu and do a faithful translation of it, one by one. We're going to start with, Upadya Sundhya and then Ulladanarpada and so forth. Just get it out. Basically, we got it all planned. Hopefully, with Bhagawan's grace, knock on wood, it happens, and get it all done in the next 12 to 14 years. It's a serious plan, but I think we can get it done. Website, so we put as much as possible. If we go to visit our website, ramanahu.org, it contains the commentaries on almost all the original writings of Bhagawan. Every verse is listed there, followed by a commentary. At least we're starting with Upadya Sundhya, and then slowly we're going to add and expand to all the other works. One interesting thing, which it was mentioned by Nimi earlier, is our video channel. I took a big risk on this because everyone is used to YouTube, right? In terms of video channel. One time, some devotee, we actually had a YouTube channel. Someone emailed me, "Why are you having advertisements?" I responded back, "Hey, I'm not doing anything. I didn't sign up for advertisement." Once you get like 1,000 subscribers or something like that, you're eligible to go into this monetization program, right? So I didn't sign it. In fact, I'm not even eligible yet. And then lo and behold, next thing you know, these guys are putting advertisements left and right. So then I researched and I found out that just a month or so ago, YouTube made a change. Even if you don't participate in the monetization program, they are going to put advertisements in your channel, in your videos. Because they're, of course, every minute, hours and hours of video getting dumped into YouTube, so they have no other choice, just to be a business and also understand. So they got to make some money somewhere, so they're just doing this left and right, but then we're getting hurt, Not only it distracts from what if you want to watch a 3-minute song and you get an advertisement, your mood is spoiled, right? And not only that, all the thumbnails are coming, lady smashing the window of a car. And so now you want to see what that is, right? You're now distracted. Just going to want to click on that video. So now you're out of it. So then I researched and I found Vimeo was a great tool where we pay the subscription fees. Every year we pay subscription fees, no ads. The guys who are in it, they love it. So one professor, actually, he's a professor in UT Austin, he emailed me just a few months ago. He said, "Kumar, this is such a great service. Because you just send me, every week you send one video recommendation. So you just send me one video recommendation. I start there and I just sit back and relax. Because it automatically goes to the next video. It still belongs to us. It never gets out of our channel. It just goes on and on. It stays within our channel. And all the thumbnails are all recommendations only Bhagawan videos on the right side. Nothing else. So it's really a good, divine digital space for us to be in. Again, it's something people are just learning about it. I hope more and more people will make use of it. So we're close to 500 videos. And then, if anyone is serious, this is a little bit of a subtle point. Each of the original work of Bhagawan has its own unique URL. So that's possible only in Vimeo. So if you see that there, vimeo.com/showcase/SRNA, that's for non-hour. SR for Sri Ramana. So easy to remember, vimeo.com/showcase/SRNA. So if you want, you just change the last 2 letters. UU for Upadya, UN for Ulladanarpada, UA for Anubandham, like that, Arunachal Padiyam would be AP and so forth. All you need to do is just change the last 2 letters and you get that specific URL. So this is another thing without, if you want to quickly access something, you have a spiritual emergency, you want to look at some work right away, you can just get there. We also have podcasts. So our main host is on ramanahu.podbean.com. Again, that principle that guides us is advertisements. If you go to that, you won't see any audio ads, won't interrupt you. You'll only hear the message. But it also flows into 12 other podcasts, the Apple podcast, Google, Google no longer has it, Deezer, iHeartRadio, you name it, it's there. You just search for Sri Ramana teachings and you will get those. So these are sort of our activities so far, and there are some dream activities too, which We're just experimenting with it. Sort of an app. We're working on an app. Again, there's a lot of challenges there, but we'll still work on it. And an AI engine that searches only on Muruganar's and Sadhu's works. So something, if you're kind of purist, you can just use that. So we're just working on that also. So we'll see where we get there. It's going to take a while to get that, but we'll get there. We'll conclude with one verse poem. When I saw this, with Swami's composition, I just immediately fell in love with it. And I'm going to say, that's going to be our prayer song. If we want something to get started quickly. We got a short of time, we wanted to have a session. So that's going to be our prayer song. There's only one verse, we'll close out with that.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Arunachalaraya Sri Sadguru Ramana Dhyanam Arunamayundi ஞானவருளிருமயனமேந்தி பொருளெதிரெனப்போந்தாக்கு புக்ககமாகி நம்பர் மருளுரு மயக்கம் நீக்கும் மகாகுரு ரமணமூர்த்தி திருவடி கண்ணிலொற்றி சிந்தையில் தியானம் செய்வாம்.
Touching his holy feet on our eyes, let us meditate in the heart upon Mahaguru Ramana Murti, the formless reality who assumed a human form with jnana and grace as his two eyes, and who, being a refuge to those who come to him desiring to know what is the reality, dispels the delusion of ignorance of his devotees.
Tocando sus pies sagrados en nuestros ojos, meditemos en el corazón, en el Mahaguru Ramana Murti, la realidad sin forma que adoptó una forma humana, cuyos dos ojos son jnana y la gracia, y que siendo el refugio para todos los que vienen a él, deseosos de conocer la realidad, disipa la ilusión de la ignorancia de sus devotos.
Aru Uru Amaindu. The formless took a form. He's first defining Bhagavan. Aru Uru Amaindu. Okay? Jnana Aru Iru Nayana Mendi. With Jnana and grace as his two eyes. Jnana Aru Iru Nayana Mendi. Then what does he do? Porul Edu Ena Pondarku. To those devotees who go to him asking, what is the truth? What is the meaning? What is the purpose? The Porul has multiple meanings. Porul Edu Ena Pondarku. What does he do to them? Pukkahamahi. He grants them refuge. Anbar Marul Urum. Mayakam Nikum. He dispels the delusion of their ignorance. Mahaguru Ramana Murti. To such a one, to this Mahaguru Ramana Murti, Tiruvadi Kannilotri. So we will place our eyes on his holy feet. Tiruvadi Kannilotri. Sindayil Dhyanam Saivam. Okay, like we'll meditate in our heart. So that's such a beautiful prayer. It defines Bhagavan, it defines what we need to do, and defines what he will do to us. That's it. Such a one, let us praise our holy feet. So with that, I will conclude and see if there are any questions.
This is less of a question, more about the verse you showed about Nadanananda on Sadhu. If you can go to the translation.
Yeah.
Incidentally, that is the last verse that Swami Nadananda composed.
Correct.
This verse. In the verse, which Sadhu Swami actually wrote a commentary on it, was a proof of what Bhagawan thought about Muruganar in the first portion. So apparently, some folks said something less than flattery to Bhagawan about Muruganar. And what Bhagawan at that time said, Nadarananda was the first hand witness. He said, the moment Muruganar composed Guru Vachaka Kovai, he has become the foremost devotees of all time.
Yeah.
That is what the first portion of that verse is saying.
Wow.
Likewise, by composing Ramanavari, Sadhu has also achieved the same status. That is what the second portion of the verse is saying.
Right. And I think when your split translation brings out some of that really nice. Yeah, exactly. Right.
And that's the last verse.
Yeah, that's the last of the 7 verses.
Last of the 7 verses, and this is the last verse that Swami Nadarananda composed.
Before he died.
12 days before he passed away, this is the last verse he composed.
Now that says something. So, thank you. Yes, sir.
First of all, thank you for that presentation. It was brilliant. My question is, how were you drawn to Sadhu?
Good question. I was not born into a Bhagawan following family. So I was out in the spiritual wilderness, if you would call it that way. And I was here, and I would just seen a picture of him somewhere in India. So came here, and I sometime in the late 90s, I started to read spiritual books. So I just first read Bhagavad Gita, the commentary by Paramahamsa Yogananda, then commentary by Adi Shankara, and so forth. Then I read Adi Shankara's commentaries on his Upanishads, as well as Brahma Sutras. So I read that. Then I decided that I really need someone who would interpret it sort of in a modern, for modern times. And that's when I finally ended up with Bhagawan. It's pure teachings. And then, of course, I was reading more and more, and I wanted to get more clarity on it. That's how I stumbled upon the path of Sri Ramana. And I have to thank David Gorman here, because he put it in his website about the path of Sri Ramana. He also mentioned clearly that this is one book that clearly explains the practice. And then it's a very small world here. Once I read that, I was very attracted to Sadhu and his works for the clarity it provided. It's all happening somewhere around the late 2000s, is what I would say. And so then I discovered through my friend Venkatraman, who is also goes by the name Murali. He's in Washington, D.C. Some of you from Washington, D.C. may know him. You know Venkatraman, right? Murali. So Murali and me are classmates, school classmates. So I called Murali and I told him, hey, guess what? I have become a Bhagawan devotee now. And he said, really? So I want to talk to your dad. So I told him, I want to talk to your dad because I know your dad always hangs around. Now I vaguely remembered his dad was hanging around with Sadhu. So I want to talk to your dad. So and then I talked to his dad. And I asked him, I still remember this conversation clearly. Sapadunnai Sandunavayan Sandamai Povan Arunachala. Mama, can you please explain this to me? That was a conversation where I was talking a lot of things, but this one, for some reason, stuck in my memory. He gave like 9 meanings. 9 meanings. So spontaneously, just boom, 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 it came. I was like, where is all this coming from? I said, Sadhu. You want a clear understanding, you've got to read Sadhu. And by the time I actually seen Michael James's website and his blog and all those things also. And then I immediately told him, can you put in touch with Michael James? So that's what he did. He wrote to him right away, immediately wrote to Michael and he said, I know this guy from school days. He's Murali's friend. Please, oblige whatever he requests. And that was the start of it. and then with our association with Michael, and one thing led to the other, and then I asked Michael to do satsang for us at least once a month. And he started Ullavanarpadu first, and then we finished Upadesa Undiyar, each one of those verses. And now he's doing Ullavanarpadu Anubandham for us once a month. So our goal is to completely do all of the original works of Bhagawan. That's how I hope I answered that question.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
Which verse of Anubandha have you reached?
We are in 24. We just finished 24. It's all in our Vimeo channel.
Okay, recorded.
Yeah, it's vimeo.com/showcase/SRUA. So that would be UA. So S.
Does Lakshmana Sharma come up much?
Which one?
Lakshmana Sharma. Does that come up at all?
Yes,
How
good
does
question.
that-
Yeah, so I asked Michael, okay, you keep saying Murunar and Sadhu Om. So who else is out there? So the closest, he said, the closest I would come is, I have some bit of issues, but the closest I will come, that Michael himself said, and apparently that's coming from Sadhu Om, that would be Lakshmana Sharma's commentaries. And because Lakshmana Sharma was coached by Bhagawan himself, and he tried to help him. He was more a Sanskrit scholar, so he didn't know classical Tamil, so Bhagawan broke it down for him. He made it very easy. So Michael's issues are a bit more on the words he used more, like the quest and all those things. Because Michael's a word purist, he's a linguist, so he would say why something shouldn't be used that way and that kind of stuff. But otherwise, I think I have a lot of respect for Lakshmana Sharma's works. It's beautiful. He's learned out of the commentary. I think it pretty much brings out all the flavor in it. Because Michael writes it, you'll like a lot more. But they are all great commentaries. Yes, sir.
You mentioned one Ulladina per in English. I don't know what's the equivalent in Tamil. I was curious, if you could say that.
That is, was that 20, right? Verse 20? Let me see.
Verse 20, yeah?
Yeah, it was verse 20, right?
காணும் தன்னை விட்டு தான் கடவுளை காண. That's the one.
20.
Yeah, verse 20, right? Verse 20.
Can you read that?
So,
காணும் தன்னை விட்டு தான் கடவுளை காணல் தானும் மனோமயமாம் காட்சிதனை காணும் அவன் தான் கடவுள் கண்டானாம் தன் முதலை தான் முதல் போய் தான் கடவுள் அன்றி இலதால் இரார் தான் கருதும்.
exactly.
Thank you.
This one, right? That's a Tamil verse right there. Oh, it's not playing anymore.
Can you check that connection? Not that, yeah, right there.
Kumar, just unplug it, replug it.
Oh, okay.
Is it plugged in?
It's fine.
That's fine. As long as less than, yeah, no problem. So yes, I think she gave that verse. Yeah, that's the verse. Yeah. So very, one of the best verses out there. A lot of times when we practice, this is starting from my own experience. The reason I like the Pakasram on the chapter 8. First time when I read it, it had a lot of points in it. And then later, because it's kind of like a warning. This can happen, that can happen, X, Y, Z, all of those things. And he mentions all of those things also in there. You'll get visions. You will get, if you like music, you will start hearing like really nice music. That's not it. If you like the food, you can start tasting like sweetness during the intense self-attention. That's not it. Like that, he kind of wants us one by one and all those things. So, and then like drums, you get the divine drums music, you can see this God and that God, that's not it. Like he kind of warns all of these things in that chapter, all based on this verse, 20. And my own personal practice at one time, I was having this like really, I was feeling a sweetness in my tongue. So there you go. You guys can now figure out I like to eat. I thought it would go within. It lasted for a few weeks, but thanks to Swami's advice, I just ignored it, completely ignored it, and then after a while, it just went away. Yeah. So we have to be very careful not to get elated or anything like that when we have such whatever experiences when we get into sadhana or atmacharya. So that's why I'm saying that chapter is so good, and thanks to Butler, it's very well translated also.
Do we purchase it through the Houston website?
No, it's on Amazon. It's on, yeah. We don't do any sales locally, so just want to mention that it's also available free. It's on the website. If you go to ramanahugh.org, there's a link for Pathash Ramana. Click on that. The whole translation it's available in a video format. So you just have to play it and then listen. It's available in that pattern also. The Tamil is available free as a HTML version. So at sriramanatteachings.org. So hoping to get this as accessible as possible. Yes, ma'am.
I saw the last verse that you showed to close your presentation. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It was in Spanish.
Yes.
Where is there a Spanish translation?
That song?
Psalms verses?
No, that's the one we have. We have only 2 songs we have translated into Spanish so far. One is this, on our Vimeo channel. On our video channel.
Okay.
So
Who worked with that translation?
This devotee from Spain,
Ignacio?
Carlos.
Carlos? Oh, Carlos.
So his name is Carlos, and he's awesome. I mean, he's a linguist, also teaches Spanish, so that's why he brings the flavor. And voice is so good, isn't it? It's this great, great voice. So I asked him not only to translate, but I asked him to really, do the reading also. And then we merged it in we have one of our devotees has a little home studio where he put it together for that song.
Has he translated, that you know of, has he translated any other works to Spanish?
Yes, he has translated Ullanarpudu. The whole of Ullanarpudu, all the verses he's translated into Spanish. Okay. If you are interested, I can get it from him, send it to you. He's now he's probably the chief translator of our Pathash Ramana into Spanish. Awesome, his dedication is unbelievable, amazing. I mean, he give me a hard time. And I say, I'm very sorry. I say, Carlos, don't even hesitate. Give me the hardest time you can. I really tell him, give me the hardest time you can. Because only when you challenge me, I can go fix the English book also. Because if you don't understand when you're translating, that means that the sentence needs a bit more polishing. I need to split it up a bit or explain it a bit more, whatever it needs to be done to make sure it is accessible. And Spanish has a lot of challenges, which actually turning out to be asserts for me in this regard. The challenge in the sense like it doesn't have a word. They're telling me, I don't know Spanish. They're for like self.
For one thing.
Yeah, exactly right.
To say thank you.
Yeah.
Muchas gracias.
Yeah.
Like 2 words, 3 words.
3 words, very descriptive. That's what they're telling me.
Yes.
So they're very descriptive. So I have to sort of make it very clear. And in the process, actually, the English book, the 2nd edition also will be releasing it sometime in the future. It's getting a little bit better. It's making a bit more explanatory and making it a bit more accessible also. So I really enjoy them translating in Spanish. It's really fun for me also as they go along this process. And they have been at it for 2 years now. They're doing a very slow, thorough job. I said, no hurry, take your time. No, there's a team. There's him from Spain, there is one from Houston, and there's a lady from Wisconsin, and then one from Venezuela. So very good. With that, we'll conclude the session today. Good?
Thank you very much.